Hey everyone, my name is Anthony Brister. Today I've got Carson Herlean on here from Generational Gains podcast. I went and heard him at the Money Multiplier Mastermind event about a month or so ago. Really excited to have him on here. Today we're going to talk about controlling our money, specifically with self-directing retirement accounts,
Mhm.
maybe some insurance too if we have time today. Really happy to have them on. Excited. I think you guys are going to learn a lot, be inspired. So, Carson, welcome and tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony, for having me here today. I live in Southern California, so a lot of people I think outside of the California always look down upon California, but we love it down here. We live by the beach. I'm married and no kids yet, but we're living life. We're working on building our foundational wealth, I like to call it. And we're 3 4 years into building our warehouse of wealth, I'd even call it too. And we're loving life, learning about all kinds of different money tools, teaching it to different people, and just sharing the knowledge we've been able to have at a young age.
That's awesome. I always joke with my California clients. I say, you guys like to pay taxes. But no, I love working with my California people because of the state tax so high. It's easy to make me look good when we find tax savings. Um,
It's
so I
fair.
guess
Yeah.
tell us, but it is beautiful up there too, and you can't beat the weather when it's 100 degrees here in Houston and humid. Sometimes paying that extra little tax might make sense too for that enjoyment.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what it is. I mean, I went surfing 2 days ago, and it's end of November. Like, how cool is that?
No, that's awesome.
So
Can't do that in Houston. Um,
yeah,
Definitely not
yeah.
in our bayous. So I guess tell us, what do you do? I guess what's your day job or your active business? What is that? And then tell us a little bit about your family history too.
Yeah, I mean, it all started when I was in high school. I was learning about money from my dad. Actually, he owns what's called a self-directed IRA custodian. So people like Charles Schwab or Fidelity, they are financial institutions that manage your retirement accounts for you. Well, there's ways where you don't have to have someone else manage your accounts. You could have complete control over your retirement accounts and manage it yourself. That's called a self-directed retirement account. And so he owns a company where he basically stores accounts there and allows people to invest in what they want through their retirement accounts. Now, that that idea I learned in high school, and I was like, oh, that's very interesting. But that was kind of my first introduction of money. Like, oh, cool. He's teaching people how to. He always says unlock and control your retirement accounts, and it's okay. That's awesome. Good to know. And then I went to school. I was around all kinds of different people. I had all kinds of different outside influences. And I kind of had to come to a point of decision where it's like, okay, well, I was around a lot of business owners. My dad learned about how he taught about control and freedom with your money. And then I was also going to school, kind of being groomed to be, in the finance program, corporate America world. And I was kind of going through this phase where I'm like, what do I want to do? Like, what direction do I want to take? And it really came to where I came to a point of decision where I thought, well, I feel like for me, I'd rather go down the path of freedom and control and not the so-called rat race, which is not bad, but it's different. And I feel like that might have suited me better. And so I did that. And I went and started learning all I could about investing, all I could about building wealth, reading all kinds of different books. And that was the education or the schooling I ended up getting was not, simple schooling, but studying what wealthy people did. And I was later introduced to many different mentors of mine, which really catapulted my career. But people like Chris Noggle, who you may have heard of before, Hannah Kessler was on here recently. People who are in the insurance business, people who are in the retirement account business, and people who are in the take control of your money business. Like that was just who I was around and who I'm around today. And that led me to want to start my own company of just like teaching this to other people. I feel so fortunate that I'm young in my 20s and I've been around these amazing mentors and learned about money when most people don't learn these things until they're in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, when they finally have that pain point of like, shoot, I'm 10 years from retirement and I have nothing. And it's like, well, how can we avoid that? How can we show people who are our age how to not get to that point? And so I thought to myself, like, okay, well, that's what I need to be doing, is sharing these tools to other young people. And so I talk all about retirement accounts, how to control them, why it makes sense to contribute to them. I talk about life insurance policies and how you can store your wealth there. And I teach people how to then invest in real estate through those different avenues. And so that's personally what I'm doing with my money, personally what I'm teaching others to do. And that's kind of the foundation, I think, for building wealth is saving money, keeping it, being careful with it, putting it in the right assets, and then investing it. And so it can be a very simple formula, and it's a whole idea of building wealth without Wall Street. And so it's something I'm passionate about, and become deeper, in love with, you could even say, is teaching this stuff. And so I know you're kind of in a similar world of teaching people how to do similar things. So I mean, does that all make sense?
Yeah, no, no. I mean, you're hitting it on the head here too. You're saying a lot of good stuff. I'm just sitting here thinking. One thing too, you're doing different than I think most 20-year-olds. I could say I was interested in finance in my 20s, but did I take action? You're actually taking
Yeah,
action too, which is awesome. I heard you talk about John Bogle. I think you had something interesting to say about that, and like why do we want control, and why most people kind of give up that control too, and what's the
yeah,
benefit of control?
man, there's so many rabbit holes we could go down here. Let's start with John Bogle, though, you mentioned. And actually, I realized after the presentation that I missed his name up. It's not John Bogle, it's actually Jack Bogle. I found that out afterwards, and I'm like, shoot, I totally messed up the name the whole presentation. So his name's Jack Bogle, but he was the founder and CEO of Vanguard. And I'm glad you brought him up because it's an interesting story. He started Vanguard, obviously one of the massive financial institutions out in the country, and I'm pretty sure there's about 11 million or 11 trillion dollars in the 401k system. And Vanguard, his company, managed about 2 trillion of it. They manage about a fifth of all the retirement monies in the entire country. And it's interesting because when he passed away, he wrote a book before he did, and he talks all about what happens behind the curtain in Wall Street. He talks about inflation costs. He talks about tax costs that you don't account for. And there's different fee costs you don't account for either in the Wall Street world. And he talks about the financial industry being a hoax. And he explains that what you believe to be building your wealth is really what he liked to call, he used two words for it: robbery and tyranny. If you remember me saying that, I hit that hard on the head when we were presenting. Robbery and tyranny is what he called the financial institutions. It's telling that if Jack Bogle is talking all about his business, his industry of financial education and management of money, he uses words like robbery and tyranny to describe the system. Those aren't words that you treat lightly. He's not saying you're getting hoodwinked. You're just kind of getting a little bit misunderstandings in your money. Like, no, he's full on saying we're robbing your pockets by the way we manage your bank or your financial accounts. Whether it's fees or different costs, things are in there that you don't understand that are destroying your wealth building, and we're building wealth off of ourselves. And if that's what Jack Bogle's saying and teaching before he passes away, I think it's something that we should all take into account. And I'm not saying the whole financial institution's terrible. I mean, it started off of good principles. 100 years ago, things were really good. Things were efficient. Things were safe. Investing made sense. But as of the past 15 years, with the high inflation markets that we're in, the greed of Wall Street, and how financial institutions actually run their businesses now, it doesn't make sense anymore. The American dream doesn't make sense anymore. 401ks don't work anymore. If your sole hope is to build wealth off of that vehicle, it's not going to happen. And so and I'm not saying this because I don't work there and I try and sell other things. I mean, sure, that's part of it, but it's like I talk to thousands of people every year, one on one, about their financial household and what's happening to the average American. And I can tell you 99% of people aren't ready. They're not ready if
Mhm.
something bad happens. They're not ready if an emergency comes up. If the market crashes, they're screwed. They don't have anything saved for retirement. And that's 99% of people. And so if that, and those people are doing what we're taught, put your money in a 401k, pay your taxes, and hopefully you retire. And no one's doing it. So that should tell you something.
Yeah, the 401k, I think just alone putting, up to the match definitely isn't enough. I'm not against Wall Street. I think that it has its place, but make an educated decision about what you're doing, right? And know the fees that are behind it. I've seen a financial advisor who's taking a fee save people a lot of money just from
Yeah.
like avoiding mistakes and things like that, but they're
Yeah.
going in being educated, right? They're talking with the advisor regularly too, just like how I preach. Talk to your tax advisor, talk to your asset protection attorney. As things go, you should be talking. If you're paying for that advisor, you should be talking with them. Know what you're invested in. Know what the fees are. Why, know if you're paying double fees somewhere. If you're paying someone to invest for you, why are you paying, an additional 2.5 in fees for mutual funds or things like that too? Um,
That that's a fantastic point, actually. I haven't thought a ton about that before, but you're right. It's like you don't need to completely control your account because maybe you don't have the expertise to do so, but at least know what's going on. And maybe you bring that up at a good time because that's exactly right. People don't know what's going on. That's the problem. They give up
yep,
control, and that's the problem. They could, of course, like you said, meet with them monthly, know exactly what's happening, and they would have complete control. They would know exactly what's going on, and they would build wealth probably 10 times faster than anybody else, even if it was in Wall Street. That's fine. But you're exactly right. It's that control aspect, which is what everything we talk and teach about revolves around.
yep. I'm starting to preach. My whole tax strategy is family first tax strategy. My clients, they're the CEO of their financial life. No one's going to care more about your finances than you are. CEOs, they call the shots, they make the decisions. They might
Yeah.
have your C team out there doing execution, things like that. You don't have to be an expert in everything, but you still need to be
Yeah.
making those shots. So I think that's where the control comes into place too. So maybe to pivot, let's start talking about self-directing retirement accounts.
Yeah.
What are some things that you can do outside of Wall Street that people might not be familiar with self-directing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually am thinking of an example of Peter Thiel.
Yeah,
You ever heard of Peter Thiel before? There's even a Peter Thiel rule in the IRS now, but in the tax code, Peter Thiel, he was the CEO of PayPal, and I bring this example up because he used his retirement account to own his stock in PayPal when they started. Most people think you can just use an IRA to invest in the stock market, but you can actually have it own a business. And if it's a Roth IRA owning a business, if you sell the business, all the income comes back tax free. You're right back into that Roth IRA. And now
yeah,
there's cons to that. You can't just take out of your IRA and go live your life and spend on groceries without paying penalties or taxes. So we have to make sure we understand what we're doing there. But Peter Thiel, when he owned PayPal with his IRA, when he sold PayPal, I think it was for 9 or 10 figures, something crazy. All of that income went back to his Roth IRA tax free. He could have been taxed on 50% of that possibly, and none of it went to tax because it was in his IRA. That's pretty powerful. And that's something most people don't think about is owning a business with a retirement account. They only know you can put it in mutual funds, but no, you could invest in real estate. You could hold rentals. You could invest in businesses. Even a deal that people I'm around recently did a forklift flipping, which is super random, but they literally bought a forklift that someone else fixed up and resold it for them, and all the income came back to the Roth IRA tax free. Flipping equipment, like there's just random investment ideas like that you can use your retirement accounts for. And those are things we're not taught to do. But those are those investments that, hey, you might understand, say your buddy's doing the flipping. You've seen his warehouse. You know the returns. You can control and understand that investment way better than you might be able to control and understand any other investment. So yeah, it would make sense for you to self-direct your accounts if you knew what's going on.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I had someone come to me the other day, talked about vermicomposting, which is essentially like worm farming, composting. I was like, I could actually invest in this in a passive capacity using my Roth.
Wow.
Crypto too.
Crypto. Yep.
You know,
Gold.
Another thing, yep. Lending. I've heard people do lending too. It's very steady stream of income, especially in your Roth. Real estate, you can as well. You can actually buy real estate in a retirement account, depending on whether it's a 401k or an IRA. There are some
Mhm.
rules around debt that you need to be aware of, but I'm seeing our clients do it time and time again. And one thing about the stock market that might be deceptive is average rate of returns versus actual rate.
Yeah.
Um, and some of these alternative investments, you can get a more stable actual rate of return
Yeah.
over time. So, when we're talking about building wealth, it really is incredible. And then you layer that on avoiding taxes, doing it in a Roth, you're really, really changing lives and starting to build that generational wealth.
Yeah.
So, what's something, I guess, besides Peter Thiel? Is there any cool stories you have of people self-directing, or you yourself? What kind of deals are you doing in your retirement account?
Yeah. Because so the company that my family owns is called Horizon Trust, and it's a self-directed IRA custodian. And we don't obviously manage any of the money because they're self-directing it, but we get to see all of the investments they're doing because they have to come to us to send the funds, and we have to, we confirm promissory notes are correct and things are accurate to be up to date with the tax code. And so we help people as well not make dumb decisions with their accounts, or things they can't do. But because of that, we get to see everything going on. And I'll tell you, the bulk of people investing with their retirement accounts are lending. The bulk of them. Most people are lending on real estate deals passively. They're lending money to people like me also, because I also flip some houses here and there. Maybe I want to purchase a house and I can't get a full bank loan. I don't want to. I could go to a private money lender who would lend me the money. I'd pay them maybe equity on the project, maybe a debt, maybe pay them interest only for a few months. But all of those returns would go back to the retirement account passively, and they're able to then even be in first position on the property that I'm investing in. So there's collateral involved, and the returns are probably much better than they'd get in the stock market with no or little fees. And so that's actually the majority of it. Most people are lending, and I see it every single day.
And how are these people connecting with people to lend to? And isn't it risky to lend money? When I think of lending, sometimes I think of payday loans or something like that. Isn't that a risky business? I know you mentioned first lien position, so maybe you elaborate on that too.
Yeah, I mean, it is your own due diligence you're doing. I mean, you got to make sure you know who you're investing with, their experience. But usually, when I have people that ask me what they should gather or get from the people they're going to work with, I'm going to say, hey, you should look at that investor's, um, or that deal owner, say that someone's flipping a house. You want to look at their financial statement. You want to look at their experience, how many deals they've done in that market. You want to then, if you can, get collateral, get on first or second position on the house. I mean, you want to make sure that's filed with the county. There are certain things you can do to protect yourself. Um, it's not just random people off the street who are looking for money and who want to pay off their credit cards. I mean, it's very specific investors who have experience investing, and it's also a lot of like syndications, a lot of funds, a lot of different bigger corporations who are raising money who are paying 8 to 12% a year. And so a lot of those bigger syndications or even storage units people are building out are some big projects you can lend on and maybe even be a part owner of those deals. And so that's what I see very frequently, and that's even what I'm personally doing as well.
Awesome. Um, and you said people can look you up at or go to self-direct at Horizons Trust, but where else can people find you at?
Yeah, if you go to horizontrust.com, like you said, that's the self-directed IRA custodian. So if you did want to roll over a old 401k, a current something else that you have, and there's so many different types of retirement accounts, you could roll it over to Horizon Trust and then start self-directing it and managing it 100%. But for me personally, because I don't only teach self-directed, I teach infinite banking and life insurance usage and real estate investing too. And so if you do want to connect with me or learn how I'm doing these different things, you can follow me anywhere. I mean, I'm on every single platform, just looking up my name. You'll find me, and I'd love to talk with you about what you're doing and what advice or what you're looking for from advice in terms of money management, or even just building relationships to do future deals with or something. So find me, DM me, let's connect.
Awesome. Yeah, y'all go look up Carson, find him on social media. I've got two questions for you, Carson,
Yeah.
before we end. First off, for those people in their young 20s, what advice do you have people just getting started right out of the gate? What are one or two things that maybe they should do, first steps, and any advice that might help them get through something tough or that they might not foresee?
Yeah. Um, you know, that question, I think a lot of people overthink it, and I think it's very very easy and simple. It's boring. Most of people's wealth is built off of boring investments and simple things that they understand. And I don't think it needs to be complicated. Just save money. Like, duh, right? That's the answer, but no one does it. In America right now, I think that the percentage is two, or of all Americans, the average amount people save of their income is 2 to 3% every month, every year of their income. I mean, it's horrible. And the reason I think that is because what we're taught to where we're taught to store our money is so incredibly inefficient right now. It makes people kind of not want to. And
Mhm.
so, if we can find better assets to store those dollars, that would increase our desire to save money and desire to control our funds. And so, first, I would just say save, and then second, find the most efficient places to save it that will make you feel better, make you feel more comfortable. And to me, I think that is a Roth IRA that's self-directed, and to me, that's a whole life insurance policy. Those two specific assets are incredibly efficient places to store money, yet still liquid, yet available to use to invest, to purchase things. I would store funds within both of those vehicles as much as possible, and I'd be confident in doing so. And so it just comes down to saving and then where you save it.
No, that's awesome. I heard Alex Hermosi say this, and I'm probably not the first person to say it, but um, almost with anything we do, it's simple, not easy. With wealth building, like you said, it's
There you
very, very
go.
simple, but it's not easy to be consistent, to grind it out, do the same thing over and over again. It might not be sexy, like you said. It growing wealth is boring. Very, very simple, but not easy to execute. Um,
Yeah.
Lastly, I guess what does legacy mean to you? Being younger, I know you don't have any kids yet, so why are you doing this? What does legacy mean, and what do you picture when you think of leaving a legacy for yourself?
Yeah, and obviously when people think leaving a legacy, they think generational wealth. They think leaving a whole pot of money to their kids.
Mhm.
And I more so feel like it's leaving a legacy is more so leaving connections, relationships, experiences, memories, more that type of way I think about that question. And for me, I think my parents actually have done a really good job. When I was in school, they didn't give me any money. They I think paid for half my tuition or something. My tuition was super, super cheap. And then that was it. I was on my own. Even though my family had money, they could have given me money, but they didn't. And instead, they gave me relationships. When I said, hey, I want to find a job to learn X, Y, and Z, they said, great, go learn from this guy. They didn't give me money to go live my life and do what I wanted. They gave me a relationship where then I took the responsibility and I had the accountability on myself to then go take advantage of that opportunity. And I did. And it's taught me, and it's given me obviously money from it because I'm doing different things and bringing in income, but I'm not creating it myself. I'm taking advantage of the opportunities. And so for me, I think leaving a legacy for my future family is leaving them behind relationships they can count on, connections they can build off of, and the right skills to go and build off of it themselves. I don't want to do it for them. They need to do it themselves, but I want to show them kind of how to do it. And if they can build the right skills to do it, that's all I could ever ask for. That's all I want. Every one of my family's generation to build wealth independently. And then as we do it together, it just compounds on itself.
Yeah, that's very well said. And I think that, that's what I'm about too. It's teaching the next generation and giving them the skills, connections, and know-how of being successful and what they need to do. A lot of people will try to control being entrepreneurs. We want control, control, control. But without relinquishing a little bit of the control, in today's episode's about control, right? But for that next generation, allowing them to have some of that control too. Maybe
Yeah.
make a few mistakes, but you're there to guide them so they're not making the same mistakes you did. That's what it's all about, and that's how you keep compounding. So,
Yeah.
thank you, Carson, for being on today. Guys, that's the Wealth Planning Podcast with Brister Law. Talked about self-directing, controlling your money. Hope you enjoy. We'll have Carson's contact information in the show notes. Y'all go reach out, follow him, ask him questions. If you have any questions about self-directing, infinite banking, he's your guy. Go follow him, ask him. Don't forget to like and subscribe for us too. Thank you guys. We'll see y'all.